Scott Morgan here, Broncos Radio. Joining me is Coach Jeremy Annen of the Coopersville High School varsity track. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Love to do this.
Hey, first time, I think, for both of us being here. And like I said, I appreciate you taking the time out here today. Let's talk about boys track and start from the beginning and go to the end. Let's get your thoughts on this season.
We start our season every year a few weeks before spring break, and we run an early meet indoors at Grand Valley where we take a couple kids per event. And right away, Gabe Vincicle finished in the top 3, I think. Luke Stanton was one of the top long jumpers. Austin was one of the top sprinters. Brooks Haddon was one of the best sprinters, mid-distance sprinters. And so before spring break, we thought we were going to be pretty competitive. And after spring break, as the weather warmed up, a lot of kids got fast. Luke Stanton has been a jumper for me for a few years, and I asked him to sprint, and jumpers sometimes think they're just jumpers, and Luke's really fast. So we put him in the 200, and he started winning most of his races, if not all, at the 200 and the 4x2 while he was still high jumping and long jumping. Then we have just a whole group of sprinters that want to be really fast, young guys. I didn't even put Luke in the 100 till the end of the year. Quinn Papagiorgio had a great sprint year for us. Finished in the league, medaled in the league meet, was one of our legs in the 4x1 and 4x2, and ran great 200 times. Just a workhorse. And then Sam McDonald, same way, 100, 200, 4x1, 4x2, and I tried to give him breaks, but we need to score points where we're good, so he was running 4 races most meets, and that's tough on kids, and they're tough kids, so that was really encouraging. And then I had Austin in the sprints, and I always give the kids a hard time about who's faster or who's winning in the team, but I always tell them it's more important to beat the other team than each other, but there's a lot of intra-squad competition with the sprinters. And so Austin was kind of the leader in the sprints most of the year, and he had some muscle issues and some hip issues, but he ran through it. I mean, he is tough as nails, and he is like special fast. So I'm super excited with him coming back. And then our throws have been just there's a website that does throws rankings for the state, and I didn't even know about it, and I usually know these things. And last year, Ty Anthony's mom sent me a screenshot, and she says, "Have you seen this?" And I said, "No, but thank you." And we had top 2 or 3 throws crews in the state last year, and I thought, geez, we graduated Ty Anthony and Michael Glass, who placed in the shot put and discus respectively at the state meet last year, and are both throwing in college this year. And I thought, that's the pinnacle. We're not going to be any better. But I knew we had Gabe coming back, and Will, and JJ, and Javion, and Azariah, and a bunch of young guys. So, Gabe, I mean, we could spend an hour talking about Gabe. He's just an absolute athletic freak in nature, and it is just such a riot to be able to coach him. I know Coach Van Kempen and Coach Kamen have said the same things, like, we're probably not going to see another guy like this again. And he started throwing shot, and it looked really good. And so I sort of stay out of the way, and Javion starts throwing shot, and it looks pretty good. And Azariah throws shot, and he's throwing 45 foot, and he's just a little guy, but man, he packs a wallop. And Will Decker throws the shot a little bit, and JJ Hurtis throws the shot, and my college coach will come around once every 3 or 4 weeks, and just to get a different voice and to get a different look. He's not a college coach anymore. He's at the end of his career, and he's just a gem of a guy. Norm Zylstra is his name, and he's a good friend and mentor. And he goes, where are all these kids coming from? And I said, I just think that they see success in a couple of kids, and more kids gravitate towards that success. So the throws crew just kind of went crazy. Gabe was throwing mid-50s most of the year. Javion was going early 40s to mid-40s. Azariah was throwing mid-40s. JJ and Will don't love the shot put, but they still do it, and they're both going to be competitive next year. And this year, in any other squad, in any other league, they're winning, throwing 41, 42 foot. And then a bunch of other kids were throwing in the upper 30s. So my discus kids, it's the same group of kids, but it's a different order every meet. So, the dual season was fun. We were right around 500, and we get to the league meet, and everyone's watching Gabe in the throws. And we had no idea what was going to happen in the disc. Will had our best throw on the team and in the league at the time, but all the guys were just getting better. JJ Hurtis ended up winning the league in the discus, and it was kind of on from there on out for the next 2 weeks for regionals and championship meets and qualifying for state. We went to Muskegon, and JJ threw 150 foot, and now we have Will Decker at 152 foot, JJ at 150, and Gabe at 147 at this point, I think. And then we have Javion and Azariah right around 130 foot, and it's like, people always say they're blessed. It's just an embarrassment of riches right now for us. And I said to my wife last week, I don't know if we're going to continue this. Like we have kids leaving, but we have so many nice kids back that want to be great and continue to be great in the throws. Even Uncle Rick, when he threw for me 15 years ago, yeah. He was throwing 150. We just had a lot of fun with that. And so we got to the regional, and it was hot. And Gabe was throwing against Adam Huff from Wayland in the shot, and it was competitive. And I told Gabe, if you throw well on your first throw, it's going to go well. And sure enough, he threw well on his first throw and ended up winning the region in the shot. And Azariah placed in the region in the shot as our number 3 shot put guy. And then we went over to the discus, and Adam Huff from Wayland he's the best in the state in the discus. He went crazy, and we said, well, you got to throw 140 foot to get to state. And all of a sudden, Gabe throws over 140 foot. Will comes up, throws over 140 foot. JJ comes up and throws 138 foot 11 inches. And we're like, come on. So I'm not totally in order here. So Jade missed it by a foot and an inch. Will and Gabe got into the discus into state on distance. But we had one more meet that was an unattached meet in Muskegon. That's when JJ threw his 150, and he was super excited. I'm always excited when the kids do well at any event, and when they get excited, it's even more fun. So just a great group of boys and girls. The girls all, Mallory Ulrich just totally ascended the mountain this year and had a huge meet in Muskegon as well. I think she had 3 throws over 100 foot. And that led us to preparing for the state meet, where we had our 4x1 had qualified. I should probably back up a little bit. I put Luke Stanton in the 100 in our last dual meet of the year, and he dropped an 11.5, and I thought, well done. You rested him all season, so he was fresh for this. And we have 6 boys that ran under 12 seconds in the 100, which is something I don't know if Coopersville's ever had.
That?
And most of them, we have 2 kids just under 12 and 4 kids down in the low 11s. And they were excited for regionals, and I was too. I said to them, do you want to run all the events, or do you want to try and qualify and go fast? And they said, we want to go fast. Okay. I mean, we weren't going to win the region. I knew we could score a bunch of points, but we weren't going to win it. So we loaded up with Quinn and Sam and Luke and Austin, and it was hot, like I said, and they were fresh, and only a couple of them had run the 100, and none of them had run the 200. And From the time the bell went off to start the 4x1, Quinn made up the stagger before he got to the handoff on almost everyone. And Sam got the baton so fast, it was ridiculous. So Sam hands off to Luke. And Luke is, I always tease him, he's about 6'1". He's 6'3" and freakishly athletic and just a great boy. Most coaches put their slowest kid or a curve runner on the third leg. And Luke just fit there. He can take a baton, he can give a baton. And he absolutely destroyed the entire field. We had such a big lead going into to Austin. And Austin didn't coast. We broke the school record that I thought was never going to be touched. We ran 42.8. And the other coaches were kind of like, "What? Who are you?" And I think we made a change with Luke for another Luke who had run great. Luke Schultz was a great sprinter for us all year, but Luke Stanton is just at a different level. So Schultz, he held us together when we had little injuries or nagging pains, and Luke Stanton was the real deal. So they qualified and were really excited. That was a lot of fun. I think if you'd have gotten that on video like the state meet, it probably would have been just as loud as it was at the state meet. So, we got to the state meet last weekend, and I didn't tell anyone what my goal for Gabe was, because sometimes I feel like if you tell a kid that, it sort of puts more pressure than there should be.
Right.
And kids always want to go to state. They always want to get medals. They always want to get ribbons. And I thought, man, there's more to Gabe than that. And I've always thought that. And so in the back of my mind, I talked to his dad at the beginning of the year, and I just said, I really think it's going to be a big year. And I said, I'm not going to put numbers on it or hopes on it, but, I think there's big things in store. And he had already thrown over 55 foot, and he was throwing 57 to 59 in practice, and he was really starting to hit spots. So we get to the state meet, and he's ranked third. And there's a boy from, I believe, Parma West who had thrown 59, and another kid from Wall Lake Central or West who had thrown around 59, and then Gabe at the high 55s. And I just thought, all right, we'll see. And it was an interesting moment, because usually at the state meet, everybody's kind of cheering for everybody, and all the boys are talking, and they become real congenial and friendly. And it was different. It was competitive, and there was pressure, and it was pretty tense. And every time the kid who people expected to win it came up to put, and he is a beast.
Yeah.
Everyone was clapping and cheering. I'm like, we usually clap and cheer for Gabe. It's pretty quiet right now. So Gabe throws 51, and he's like, and I said, well, you have to throw better than that to make finals. And then he throws 53. And this other kid, I think from Walled Lake, who ended up second, threw 59, and everybody went nuts. And Gabe was standing over by me, and I said a couple of things, and I said, I think I'd take it personal if I were you, that they're not cheering for you like they are for him. Next throw, 61 foot. And I don't think that my words did it, but it does not take, Gabe has matured into such a great competitor. We saw it in football, we saw it in basketball, where he just treated kids like rag dolls on the court. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was like, this shot put weighs 5 pounds, and I'm going to throw it out of here. And he absolutely, and that's when I just went crazy. I knew it was over 60 foot. I didn't know how far it was. And it was a lot, it was a lot of fun. For him, for his family, he had a lot of family there. His grandparents were there, and we really enjoyed that moment. I just am so happy for him, because I know he wanted to win it. And I wanted him to go over 60 foot so badly. And I didn't want to say it to anyone. It wasn't like I didn't want to jinx it. I just felt like this is a big goal. And if I say it out loud and he doesn't do it, I'm going to look like I put too much pressure on him. And he just took care of business. And as soon as he went over 61, it was over. Nobody threw well again. It was, I think the one boy who's a junior threw really well. The top three boys were just set apart. In fact, there was another boy, I can't remember what he finished, was really solid from Airport. His dad was really friendly at the state meet, just great to us and to Gabe. And we just had a lot of fun celebrating and enjoying that. And we went over to disc, and he threw well there. He had a 4-foot PR, and he became our third kid on the team over 150 foot in the disc, which is Frankenmuth and another team are probably a little ahead of us. But as soon as Gabe went over 150, I thought, all right, we can compete for ranked best throws groups in the state. And so he threw 150 in the disc and just missed finals. And then it started to rain. And the 4x1 was really excited. We thought we were in a good spot. The kids really wanted to go faster.
Yeah.
So it's pouring rain, and we're standing at the start because it was crowded. It was just a beautiful venue at Hamilton. And Quinn, again, makes up the stagger on almost everyone. Sammy gets the baton, and he is right in the midst of it. And Luke, I thought Luke was in 5th or 6th by the time he handed it off because it was pretty tough to see. And so he hands it off, and Austin had an injury. It happens. It's just a freak thing. He ended up having a avulsion fracture of his hip, and he'll be better, and he'll be stronger, and he'll hopefully break all these records again in the next 2 years. And Lukey handed off in 2nd. I went back and looked at the film. So they were, this group of kids is just the speed. You can grow speed. Tony Holler says speed grows like a tree, so it don't grow fast. And you're not just, you're born with twitchy muscles, bouncy muscles, and these kids are just those kids, and they work at it, and they're fun, and they're competitive, and I know they want to go to bigger meets, and so we'll see a lot of kids back next year. For the kids that went to state, even the kids who didn't go to state, just a lot of really competitive kids that were sophomores that scored all our points this year. Besides, Luke and Quinn and Gabe were really our 3 seniors who scored a ton of points along with Brendan Nolan. But yeah, that state meet was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and again, is that the first state champion in shot put for Coopersville?
No. Aaron Curtis won it in 2014, I think. I looked, and we almost have a kid there, every year. Not quite every year, but real close to every year. And I was thinking about it driving in. I would love to go back and see if we've missed a year qualifying for state in throws. But it would be few in the last 26 years that we haven't. And even if they don't, it's probably because we had a ridiculous regional, or it's a one-day thing, if you have a bad day.
Yeah.
So that rule is changing, and you're going to be able to qualify throughout the season starting, I think, next year. Couple parameters, but they'll set a qualifying standard, and kids will have all season to do it, which is, it's more like college, and that makes sense.
Okay.
So
Excellent.
that'll be fun.
Are you seeing the numbers increase for track, or is it about the same for,
It's about the same. We've become more of a diverse sports population at Coopersville. We have more offerings, and there's more coming with the MHSAA opening sports up and offering more sports. So it's competitive, right? You have to talk to kids. You have to recruit kids. You can't tell them things that you don't know, but we hope you're going to get faster. We hope you're going to get stronger. We think you're going to be really good if you're coachable and you want to work at it, and that tends to help. But our numbers are pretty steady. We're usually around 50 boys. The girls around 30 to 40 girls. And we just have a ton of excellent assistant coaches that I think the kids just love. Sarah Overbeek is an elementary teacher who vaulted at Grand Valley. She came on this year replacing Emily. And Sarah is just amazing. She's doing a camp next week with me. I'm doing throws. She's doing vault for 6 through 12. So she's great. Vicki McWilliams is in the Hall of Fame at Aquinas as a mid-distance runner. She helps with jumps and everything. She's just great. And then obviously Coach Heather is the girls' coach and works with sprinters and hurdlers, and Brian Wiggins distance. And we have a lot of people. Like having 3 people in the building is great.
That's huge.
But yeah, there's a lot of offerings. So we have to look at dual sports, or we have to look at, bending some arms and getting to them early and hoping they have positive middle school experiences too.
Let's, get your thoughts on this senior class that's graduating. Very, very athletic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's there's about 3 or 4 of us who have been around since the groups in the early 2000s still.
Yep.
And we've talked a lot about comparing. It's kind of like comparing eras that I do in the NBA. The NBA now stinks because I'm an old guy apparently.
Right, we are all.
And the 80s and the 90s were the best, which I actually think is true. But this senior group, man, person for person, looking at the groups we've had, when I started in 1998 to now, it's top 2 or 3 groups we've ever had for sure. We may not have, the trophies or the accolades, but we're in a way more competitive youth athletic world than we were 25 years ago. It's just different, Every kid has his or her own trainer. Every kid has his or her own personal coach. 25 years ago, we had a bunch of good kids whose parents taught here and coached here, and we sort of have that now too. And kids, I think the greatness and competitiveness that we saw 25 years ago is here too, Coach Van Kempen and Coach Kamen and all the other coaches, those guys are the 2 big sports coaches, so I mentioned them. They're super competitive and have high expectations, and so do I, because I've been around a long time. So I know all of our coaches. We wanna win, and we wanna see our kids be successful, and it's the most fun when they are successful. Not for me, but for them.
Exactly.
Just a riot to see kids have success. But I can't say, I love to watch our track team run against my team in 2001 that won the regional, but I don't have anybody that can beat Nate Peck. So that kid's going to win the meet by himself. But in basketball and football, it would be fun. It's fun to see the pieces and how things would go.
Yeah, because for me, I look at with when Rick was his senior year, and I compare a lot of that to the different seniors because they were so successful in different things. Yeah, and this class was definitely by far the right up there with that group, and it was an amazing time. Like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years, so I've seen all this. And it's like you kind of go, wow, this class set a high standard for the lower groups, and I hope they they understand that and they know that later on, and when they're our age, we're not old, we're just mature. But it's great to see Coopersville is growing. We have to be competitive. Let's face it. We're going into this new league where there's even more competition. I see. That I'm thinking from Lowell and Cedar Springs, and let's talk about. I'll get your thoughts on that going into the new league.
For track, it's going to be, Allendale brings back all their distance runners, and they have the best distance crew in the state. Chad, their coach, is a really good friend of mine, and he does a great job. They're going to be amazing. Ted at Sparta this might be his best team. I watched, he has kids in spaces he's never had kids, so Ted's he's at the end. He's not as close to the end as I am, and he's at the end. So I think he wants to stick around because the team he has coming back is special. He has speed, he has distance, he has field. Greenville always has track. I know they have a couple pieces. I don't know all that they have. Lowell will be competitive. Cedar Springs, since Jeff hasn't been coach, I'm not sure how competitive they've been, but traditionally they've been good at track. Who am I forgetting? Kennewa. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from Kennewa. We just don't see them anywhere.
Right.
So I feel like it's going to be very similar track-wise in the RCA. And I know there's a lot of experienced coaches, just like we're leaving the OK, with Kevin Spots, who won a state championship at Hamilton, and Chad, who's won the league every single year up until the last 2 years. The best we can get is a piece with him in the league. So we're going into a real good league, and really nice coaches and really nice kids, and I think we fit in really nicely into that mix.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's, like I said, it's good to get to know and talk about the success that these kids have, and setting records and setting state championships and everything like that. And that's a lot of work for you, your staff, and Heather and her staff. And, so congratulations.
Thanks. You had a lot of fun.
You guys deserve that, and I appreciate it. And we'll look forward to next year to see what comes back and see where we're at.
Can't wait.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Coach.
Thanks a lot.